everybody, time for Beyond the Lines, meaning colors and coloring. I'm working in the Outlander coloring book, of course, because I have to give a little bit of warmth and coziness to Jamie and Claire. It's time to color the fireplace, and I'm going to talk to you about how I shade and color stone, how I sometimes find it beneficial not to add too many layers and have it a little bit of a grindy, gritty, textured kind of a feel at the page. And of course I'm going to talk to you about reflections of fire on different kinds of surfaces. So join me and let's color a fireplace.
Alrighto. Like I had said in the intro and also at the end of last videos, today I'm going to work on the background a bit, and I said it in earlier parts for this coloring page. Usually I start artwork in the background and then come to the foreground, and usually I start kind of on the right hand side, not to smudge anything, and then go from there to the left hand side. Now this time around, as you obviously can see, I changed things up for a very good reason, which I explained in video 1. It's still only a day later, no, 2 days later since I filmed the last part, so I'm still coughing a bit, sorry for that, but I'm getting better, I hope. I have my cough drop and my tea. I hope I can make it through the video without annoying you too much with my, seasonal cough. Anyway, today I want to start with the background, and I want to start with the fireplace here and the bit of clothing and the sword and such that is here in the foreground laying before the fireplace. Now, this scenery is set, when it comes to the books, it is set in spring. When it comes to the TV show, it's set in autumn. So both of them being the intermediate seasons between summer and winter. So we don't have the super high sun in the sky when it comes to the window here in the back. There's probably a little more on a bluish gray kind of light coming from there, and it will hit only very lightly here on the side of the fireplace. The majority of the temperature comes from this part here, and temperature in terms of photography. So this will have a way more yellowish tint than a bluish tint, so it has a warm temperature, warm colors, you know. So I have a little bit of a cold temperature coming from the left hand side when it comes to the daylight there, and I have a lot of the warm temperature here from the fire in the fireplace. So before I start choosing colors, I have to decide on how to coordinate those. How bright is my daylight, and how far do I want it to reach into the room? And there I take the help of already the highlights, of the highlights that I already put on Jamie and Claire here. And there's only very little highlights. They're very subtle here on the hair, on the shoulders, here also on the hair, on her dress and such. So it's not the super bright highlight, because I'm thinking it's maybe a grayish spring kind of day. So I'm not having a lot of light coming from the back here. The majority of the light, I decided, is going to come from the fireplace. So there will be a lot of warm colors here in this fireplace area. And it, of course, also reflects onto the sword and clothing and such. So keeping that in mind, I also have to decide what kind of material this is going to be. And I did decide, okay, it's going to be stone, because this is just logic. I'm gonna have it be a stony bit. And I want something like a warm-ish kind of a stone, not the very cold granite colors. So I will have a mixture of cold grays and warm grays here with a little bit of brown. So it's pretty much a mixture that I want from... ooh, I'm losing the pencil. There we go. Ah, it wanted to jump. From her shirt here, a mixture of these colors with the grays. This is what I want for the fireplace, for the outside, where there's reflection of the fire. Of course, there's going to be a few more yellow tones and orange tones in there. But saying that I want the warmer colors, let's see, these are all the pencils I already used. So I will go through those first and see which ones I want. I want those. I want this brown. I want the black. I want the gray. Maybe a bit of a white to blend. Don't want the silver, but here's another gray that I like to have. And I'm needing something like an olive green, which I haven't used so far. So I'm going to look through my greens here and see if I have an olivey green. Yep, that's close enough. So, I forgot, I should maybe have a little bit of a blue as well. Yeah, I think, no, let's change the yellow, change it or maybe leave it. So, okay, these would be the colors that I would go for the fireplace. And since I'm having so much pencil work here already done, I'm going to cover it with a white sheet of paper to not smudge anything with my hand. I now have to check. Can you see well enough? Do I have to zoom in? I think I might just have to zoom in a smidge. Was a bit too much. Like this, I guess. And you should be able to see a little better on how I put down the colors. So I'm really just going with the fireplace here. I don't have an idea yet on what this part is here, so I'm just gonna disregard it. And I'm just going for the stone. And if I'm lucky, I can finish the whole thing here today. So also the fire and the clothing and such. I'm giving my best. I'm doing my best to not be super slow, but I also don't want to rush things because, like I had said in videos before, colored pencil is a very slow medium. It just takes time to put down. And if you have to be extra careful because you're working with wax-based pencils and the wax bloom could build up maybe too fast for you, it then takes, of course, even more time to finish a coloring page. That's why I'm already on part 5. Which I try to be done in 3 parts, but again, if it's not possible, it's not possible, and I'm not gonna rush things just for the sake of rushing things. So, all my pencils are sharpened, and I'm going to start with the warm gray, which is a light gray, and I'm going to put in the light from the window. So for that part I have to remove the paper a bit. So the window is here. There's a curtain next to the window, it seems, so it's not too much of a highlight or a cooler light that I have to put in. Now you could say, hey Sarah, you're using the warm gray, not the cold gray. True, I will use the cold gray on top. Still, I need the highlight here to be penciled in first, so that I have an indication on how far I want to have a color reach, or the light reach. And of course I have to resharpen my gray because I was saying I wanted to use as little time as possible, right? So let's do some extra sharpening then. So here we go. Hope the lead doesn't break anymore. So going in, just seeing, okay, how far do I want the light area to go? And I think this is a nice amount. So all of this section that I'm currently penciling in is hit by the daylight from the window in the back. So let me go here. Go like this. Go like that. And now I change to only the column here, because this part here is not going to be hit by daylight. It is this column here casts a shadow, and also this goes into the fireplace. So of course the light from the window does not hit it, but let's have this column. And it's something like this. There won't be a highlight down here. I think this would be the wall, the window. That could be the tools for the fireplace, I guess. Anyway, they're gonna cast a shadow, or they are going to cover up the part of the column that would be hit by daylight. I'm just saying the window goes down to here, so since I'm having very little daylight only, there won't be enough to light up the lower part here. So now that I have this in, I can go with, I'm just going for the outside now. So all of that up here, and all of it here. None of the parts that would be hit by firelight that would have reflection. I'm gonna leave those for now, because I have to choose the colors for my firelight, and I just want, I think it might even make a little more sense to explain to you how I build up my well, my lighting situation here. I think it would maybe make a little more sense if I just, well, color it the way that I build it up, meaning one light source at a time, and not taking care of the fire for now. I can take care of that later. So what I'm gonna do now is give the rest of the fireplace here that I haven't used the light warm gray on, I'm giving that a very light layer of the light cold gray. I will layer lots of colors on top, but it might help you a bit to see where I'm going to have the highlights and the darks, and also it helps well with the camera focusing, and truly it also helps me to figure out, okay, this is where I wanted things to go and not get lost in the moment. Excuse me. I hate that cough. It bugs me. So last little bit, so I'm going to have that column here colored with the cool gray, like this. Now I'm going to build up my colors, and I want this to look like old stone. So I'm going to have a little bit of a texture, of course, that comes with the medium of colored pencils, which actually is really great, because I can use it to my advantage and make this look like old stone, just by not blending out things too much. But I'm also going to build up my colors now. The shadow or the darker colors are going to be on the right-hand side, since again, the light is coming from the left. And this is going to be quite the dark stone anyway. So I'm just gonna bring in a layer of the dark gray. Not being super precise with covering the whole surface, because that will then help to patch the blue, the browns, and the greens in between. And it will also help with making this look more like stone. So I'm going in with a little bit of the olive green on top. Because sometimes you have almost like a mossy look to some of the stones when they're old and withered, and I'm thinking, well, that's gonna happen here on this fireplace. Not too much though, because, well, this fireplace is indoors, and I'm hoping that Lear Castle is not that damp to have a lot of moss going on. But a little bit could just help to have a bit of an interest and a bit of, well, yeah, interest, I think is the correct word. A bit of interest on things here to look at, to let your eye wander across the page in the end. And now I can bring in the light ochre just a bit to go over things very lightly though. And I'm pulling it into the warm gray too, so into the highlighted area, highlighted by the daylight window. And like that, I'm just building and building and building my layers. To, well, get an old kind of a stone going on. Starting to go in circles now to break up the way I colored before, which is very horizontal with the lines. So just to start making it look like a stone, not just like an architecture sketch, I'm going to start going in circles or ellipses while coloring. And moving forward to the dark brown. This is the more greenish brown that I had used on Claire's shirt. And I think that gives this stone a wonderful, almost earthy kind of a touch. By holding this pencil so flat, I'm giving pretty much the whole area that I go over a very light touch, but I can, or I have the opportunity to have a rather smooth kind of a application of the pencil. And I get these stony, gritty looks here. By having a little bit of the blue on top, I will push this more into the gray part of a spectrum. And I can start building contrast between the undersides of the fireplace and the sides like this one here that face the room. So I'm pretty much putting the blue on the bottom part of these, the ones that don't face the room, the undersides of these mantle pieces where there's going to be quite a bit of dark. I'm also gonna have a little bit of blue here on these crests. I was looking there for the word for just a hot second, because they're also made of stone. I'm just going to apply a bit where the dark is going to go. Same here on the lighter part. Now I'm going on top with the dark gray again. Now I can go bit by bit by bit and pretty much clean this up, finish this before I bring in a bit of a black for the very dark shadows and such. Bringing in the cold gray, the light one, and going from the other side, blending this in. Anyway, I could actually go with the black right away and have this section by section. And like that you get quite a couple of richer undertones in your lower layers. But that again will make the stone and the whole surrounding look very rich and not just a flat gray. If you just have black and white and maybe one or two gray tones, it would look way flatter than having all of these colors underneath and have a bit of gray on top to finish things off. It's just those 4 tones that I'm going to put on top now. Well, next section, I have to turn my book a bit because it's just a little more comfortable for my hand. So I'm just gonna go like this, put the dark gray on top. Bring in the light gray from the other side. More of the dark gray. Just a smidge of black. That line here. I'm not gonna have black in this section because it faces the room, and I want to keep the very dark colors for the parts of the mantelpiece or the fireplace that do not face the room, such as this one here. This is an underside. So I'm going way darker there. I'm also having quite a bit of black coming in. Doing that with a very light touch though. And bringing in the light gray from the top, from the left-hand side. A little bit of white too. And another one that is facing the room. So I'm keeping the black at a minimum. Going over with my dark gray. And bringing in the light gray from the left-hand side. Just a touch of black here, where the piece on top might cast a bit of a shadow. And just very lightly. Next part, again, is one of the pieces that faces the floor. So it's going to be a bit darker. And when you color stone in that fashion where you have a lot of undercolors before you bring on your final layers, you have to be really careful with the colored pencils, really just use a very light touch, because you build up your pigment quite fast if you are not working with a light touch, and then you can't put all of the other layers that you need on top, the tooth of the paper will be damaged too much to take any more pigment, and it would be, well, it would be kind of a shame if you had to stop halfway through. I'm not going to blend too much. Again, I want this to have the texture of stone, so this kind of gritty look is actually to my advantage there. Let me have an anti-glare check. I'll need to go a bit darker with this part. It was a little too soft. Another check. There we go. That's more like it. The next part again is a very narrow one, but it is also one that is facing the room, so I'm holding off on my black. But I'm using my two grays. And the next part I can actually go in with the black right away because it is so narrow. So I'm having black and light gray come together. Just intensifying that one line here. Okay, now the a little more difficult part starts because I'm getting to the area where the crests are. And what I'm gonna do first thing is giving it a layer of the darker gray. And then bringing in the light gray from the other side, just like I did before. But now I'm going to the crest here and I'm going to bring in the black. And I'm going to shade this separately from the background pretty much there, so from all the surroundings. The shadow is going to be on the right hand side because the window is on the left hand side. So I'm going to make this look shaded on the right hand side. Maybe softly bringing in my shadow here. I'm using only the black, again being very subtle or very, very light with my touch, only adding a medium heavy touch when I really want to outline something. But this is rather a delicate piece of the fireplace, because I can not have this look too much like a plastic, because it's these stone pieces are, well, almost more in a carved way. This is how they look. This is how they are, well, incorporated into the fireplace. They're not glued on top, if you know what I mean. There's a certain look when you have ornaments or something and you put them on top of an object and you use something like a little bit of a cement or something to glue them on. They look more like a plastic kind of thing. But this is not what it's supposed to be here, so I have to be a little more subtle with my shading, because it is pretty much the other way around. The crests are almost carved in a sculpture way, and then the parts here in the background have just been flattened very well. But they have, I think they're done in one piece. This is just one piece of stone that has been, well, carved and sculpted and worked on to make this fireplace look like it does in the end. It's not like a fireplace Lego kit that is put together, you know. So to be very subtle. This is number one. Going with the gray here to do so, the same thing, the dark gray though, because this is way more in the light, so the shadows won't be as dark as they are here where there's far less light coming in. So I'm going to shade this with my dark gray, at least partially. I'm probably also going to bring in the black here just a bit, just to enhance a few of the contrasts. Especially here on the right hand side of the crest. I'm having a very light touch. I know that there's quite a couple of layers underneath the one that I'm coloring right now, so I have to be careful not to make this necessarily be the last layer for this section. I kind of want to have another layer of gray on top if possible. So I just can put down a very little amount of the black pigment here, and that is why I'm having such a light hand. It doesn't look like it, I'm just holding my pencil firm. I'm not putting pressure on the paper though. So just in case you're wondering why I'm having such a tight grip, that is just to be able to control my movements here very well, because I'm having a rather small kind of surface to color. A bit more of the black here. And also bring in a bit of the black pencil here on the background. Just a little bit though, before I bring in the dark gray once more. Okay. I need to sharpen my pencil once more. And now I can go with hopefully my final layer of dark gray. I'm going in ellipses, so long ovals, to build my scene here. Pulling the dark gray a little more into the left than I had on previous pieces, but I think it just helps a little more with the left-hand side crest there to incorporate it well into this coloring here. All right, that looks kind of okay. I'm gonna check without the lamp glare. Squinting. Yes, we're good. So that was maybe the most difficult part of the front side of the mantelpiece. So I'm just going to the next section now. Need to hype up the contrast maybe a bit here. There we go. Bring in the light gray. And then I can go on to the next section already. That is one that's facing the floor again, and it's also curved, as you can see here. All the others are normal rectangles. So this one has to be shaded in a more delicate way. But that is something where the black comes in then. First I go with the light gray and the dark gray though. There we go. And since this is a curved part, I'm also going to curve my shadow. So I'm going something like this. To go with the shape of the stone here. Before I can clean up the lower edge, like so. Now I'm just filling in the shadow. I'm having a general direction there of how my pencil strokes should be placed to keep with the curve, and there you have it. There we are. And the final section of the fireplace over the fire part. And yes, that's a technical term, guys. It totally is. So I'm having this section here. There's a little less light because the curtains take away some of the light, as does this piece here. And well, some of the highlight is maybe behind that column there, but still. Since this is kind of an overhang for the mantelpiece there, I'm going to have a bit of a shadow also here on the facing part of the fireplace. Facing Jamie and Claire, I mean, not the floor. To check and squint. Yep, we're looking good. Now I can go on to the column here. I'm going to use the same techniques that I used for this part. So I have the 2 light grays in there. Now I can go with a darker gray. The shadow is going to be on the, or the darker part is here, going to be on the right hand side, also the lower side. So I'm going to bring in some gray there, then maybe first a bit of green. And I'm just coloring the front, not this part here. That's gonna be the next part that I'm gonna work on, but I have to add a few fireplace colors for that. So there's gonna be reflection from the fire. So I have to choose a couple of colors there. But first I wanna have these parts here done. Doing the same thing as I did with the part on top of the fireplace. I'm just adding a few shades of color here and there. Not too much, but still enough to have interest. Sorry. So looking forward to have this cough gone. You have no idea. I hope that by the time this airs, oh well, I should be good. It should be long gone. Maybe I've had another cold since then. Who knows? But I'm kind of getting tired of this particular very dry coughing. It annoys me. And it always gets a bit heavier when I talk a lot, so any filming day, not the greatest. But well, enough of the complaining. Time to put on the last little layers there. So I'm going in with the dark gray first. Just putting it on top, pretty much solid, where the dark is going to go. Then going in with the light cold gray, just like I did before on the other sections. And I'm going to blend it into the dark gray. And then I'm bringing in the black to have a few more of the darks going on here. For example, here on the lower part, there's going to be quite a bit of shadow. And then there's carvings here, so they're going to be darker. And I used a little more of a heavy hand on these lines than I did with the shading here, so I'm gonna go on top of that again. A little more of the light gray, just to blend out this black here, and then I can go and shade the rectangle parts here, just like I had before. I'm shading from the right. There's going to be the dark gray. From the left, there's going to be the cold light gray. Bringing in a bit of the black here and there. And these bottom facing pieces, for example, this one's curved again, so I have to be very light with my touch and bring in a bit of the dark shadow, very dark shadow here. It also casts shadow on the next section because, again, overhang. Going to be a bit darker here because the column is narrower here, so all of this is casting a shadow on that part here, but just a bit, so very light touch. And then here on the next one, again the dark gray from the right and the lighter gray from the left, bringing in the black. There we go. Need a bit of a black here to set the column apart from the other rectangle here. All right. Now I can choose which fire colors I want to use. And by fire colors, I mean the reflections of the fire. Anything that goes in here will have reflections of the fire that is here. So I want to take a look first at the colors I already used. And there I see a warm red, an orange, and a warm yellow. So these three should be with me, and also maybe another warm color, another warm yellow. What I'm going to start with is coloring the fire now, and all the reflections here that happen on the stone, just as an indicator, okay, where do I need to put what? And this is again like mathematics again, this is very scientifically planned. There's certain areas that will have a reflection of the fire or be lit by the fire light, and others won't. So another concept or another thing is to keep in mind, the only light source in this area is the firelight. The window is not a fire or a light source anymore, nor is the candle. They are not working on lighting up the fireplace, because this goes inwards, so nothing will hit from the window or the candle. The candle's just simply too weak, the window is in the wrong angle. So let me start by coloring the fire. I'm starting with that very sunny yellow here, giving things, those flames here, a dark yellow touch, a bit of a yellow, light yellow, mixing that in from the top. Then coughing a bit and then moving on to the orange. And a bit of the dark red. And then I have to paint in my wood before I do anything else. And I want these 3 tones that are already used in the fireplace and in other areas on this coloring page. So here's that. Going on to the logs. Like the outside part here. Going a little darker with the dark brown. And now I can go back and intensify the color here. Just going on top with the sunny yellow. Bringing in a bit of a red, not too much though. Bit more of the orange. And the lighter cadmium yellow. Now what I gotta do next is work on the pot and also the guard there. And have reflections put in. I could actually put in all the reflections now for the fireplace. Not the clothing and the sword of Jamie here, but let's just end with a fireplace, or let's just take care of the fireplace for now. So I'm choosing this sun yellow. It's a nice mid-orange tone, and there's going to be reflections back here, here of course. A little bit on here. Then we do have slide here. A little here on the corner and on here. Then the fire of course lights up the roof as well. There's reflections here and here. And that would be for the stone. For the pot, it will, well, have reflections here. The handle will also be having reflections. Same goes for the guard here. Where it faces the fire. Now, the pot, the silver handle or metal handle, iron probably, as well as the guard here, will have a dark gray, black color tone, and then there's a few little clouds here, or there's just some puffy bits that I want to have a little more in the light gray shade. So I'm going to start with the dark gray, and I'm just going in with the metal pieces first and have the pot colored. So I'm just going around and slightly over my yellow reflection here. And then I'm bringing in, excuse me, the warm gray, going over the sunny, sun orangey color, and going in with black to define things, and that will help me have reflection on my metal pieces here, but still have definition and contrast and dark bits going on as well. Not have this look weird. I'll go in with my sunlight yellow to bring in a little more oomph. I hope you all can see that it is zoomed in enough, but looking at my camera screen, it looks good, I hope, I think, maybe. Kind of. Probably. All the wonderful words. Doing the same thing now with the handle here, bringing in the black and going in solid black. That sets it apart from the metal handle here. Also, this is just way too narrow to do any wonderful shading there. So next up I would go for the pot and the lid, just going on top. The darker parts are going to be on top because the fire is underneath. So the top will be darker. There's also gonna be some oh, what's it called? Now I have to look it up. I forgot the word. Ah, man, and it's kind of important in this case. It's not charcoal. It is, let me see, internet, translation. It's kind of an important word. I was actually kind of proud of myself that I remembered the word crest, because it's been a while since I've been using that. But now to look up the word rousse, because that's soot. Ah. Man, I knew that word. So there's gonna be some soot at the bottom of the pot here, because it pretty much sits quite on top of the flames. So there's also gonna be some dark here. But the main dark parts are going to be here on top. Bringing in the dark gray to smooth out the black here. And then the warm gray and some more sunlight, orange, wonderful warm yellow color to add a little more oomph to this reflection here. Maybe I need a bit more of the gray and a bit more of the black. Okay. Slowly getting there. Okay. Now I will go to this guard here that will have the same kind of thing going on like the pot, and I'm using the dark gray. It is not in the light, meaning this section here is on the shadow side of the fire. It's also not hit by the window or the candle, so I'm only going to use the dark gray and the black on this, because this is more on the darker part of things. And I have the yellow reflection here on the top side and such. I have it already penciled in. So I pretty much just need to intensify the color, give it another layer. And over here, can go in with quite the dark, simple lines. And a little bit of the yellow. So these smoky bits I'm going to have colored with light gray, the warm light gray, the cold light gray, and a bit of white. And then I'm going to color the stone around them, because I want to have them stand out quite a bit here. I will come back to the wood and the fire, but first I want to now color all the stone and have that little yellow reflection in there that warms up the color of the stone. And then I can intensify things here. So just note that this is not done yet, this part here, but I need to bring in all of the other colors now before I bring in the final shadings here on the fire. Now, since I had already said that this is all shaded, so all in the shadow, there is no daylight from the window coming in, I'm going to leave out the warm light gray that I had used here on the side, but I'm going to go in rather dark with the dark cold gray. I'm going to be a little less adventurous, aside from the column maybe, but a little less adventurous with my layers here, because they're way darker, so I don't really need to see the green, but I need to have a lot of browns and black, gray, maybe a little blue, but not so much the green, for example. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to layer up the dark gray, and I'm going around all of these sunny yellow reflections. I will probably bring in the orange too, to have some variation here on these lighted areas. But for now, I'm just going to go in and give the whole thing a dark gray layer. Very light touch, because I want to be able to layer quite a couple of dark tones on top. But still, I need to start somewhere. So I'm going to do so with the light gray. The dark gray. Ah, gosh. Talking and remembering, kind of difficult, right? So here we go. So there we got the fireplace base coated, if you would say that if you wouldn't work with color pencils. I have the first layer down. Now I want to go in with the browns next, all three of them, and just bring in a little interest. Not too much though. And probably more here. These parts, and then go in with the real brown and not the yellow ochre per se. So just gonna work with the line work here, and I'm going more over the gray than the brown, but I'm the yellow, but I'm still gonna layer a couple of colors on top of the yellow here. Being as well patchy as I was with all the other parts of the fireplace, I don't want this any solid layer of brown. I want this to look like stone in the end, even when there's a lot of reflections on top from the firelight. The same way I built up these parts here, just like I did the other parts of the fireplace. I'm just going a little more towards the gray parts than the yellow parts, and I'm favoring corners and well, yeah, corners I think is the best word to say it, and the overhangs here, I'm favoring those for the darker colors to come in, because this is where the light won't be as reflective as they are maybe from a very smooth stone, but if you have corners and angles and such, the light will not bounce off as well as it does from a straight flat surface, even if it is the same material there. So that is why I'm favoring especially this corner here. This is gonna be dark, all of that. I'm going in with a bit of the blue. And it might not be very intuitive to put blue on top of brown there, but blue and brown do make gray. And though I do have grays in my assortment of colored pencils here, I still like to layer blue and brown to make my own other gray tones that are not in the set of colored pencils here. And I have only very limited shades, as I already told you in, I think it was the part where I colored Jamie's, I wanted to say skirt, oh boy, no, it's a kilt, where I did that. So, though there's a lot of orange and yellow light going on here in this general area of the fireplace with the lit fire, still I like to have a bit of blue in there just to make my own grays and, well, have a little more interest going on, honestly. So that's quite a lot of blue, and that's fine. Not having the green, I had already said that. But I need a bit of an orange too. And probably also a little more of the yellow ochre to have a little more difference in the light reflection there. If I'd only use the warm yellow, the sunflower yellow, it could very easily look too flat. It's fine on those smaller bits here, but not on these larger sections here where there are a lot of well, it's just such a big surface that it could look so flat, so easy when you just go with one shade of something there. So I'm bringing in the orange. Sorry, I'm gonna have a cough drop in a minute. And also the yellow ochre here, building things up. Layering and layering. Now I need a cough drop, and then I can go in with the dark gray and the black and the brown, the dark brown a bit more. Maybe also the light gray, but I think I need a bit of the black. Definitely need to sharpen my dark gray. Now I can go bit by bit by bit and, well, fill up the layers there. It's green. And I'm gonna start with this section here. This time around, the light comes from underneath the fire pot. And you can see here I already have it a little lighter here, meaning the darker bits are actually here on this left-hand side. So that's reverse from before. So I'm going to color it. Maybe a bit more of the yellow, the very light cat yellow here. And a little more sun yellow. And now I can shade the stone. These parts here are going to be very dark. And I'm just working back and forth to blend all of these tones together. I'm being way darker with my shades than I've been on the outside of the fireplace. But again, the only light there is the firelight. So, of course, there's also soot here on the stone, so I'm going way darker in this section. Just to show the viewer, hey, this is an old fireplace. Yes, it's in use. And there's dark gray stone and soot and all of that in here. That's why I'm being rather heavy on the black in this particular area here. Blending things out with the gray, and then going in with the sunny yellow to also intensify the reflection of the fire, not only the stone colors. Putting in a little bit of orange too. Shading those puffy clouds just a little bit. And then I'm going in with the gray here. And then only layering the yellow on top. And orange too. Now I can go into the next section here. I should start with the black. And then going with the dark gray on top. Long ovals to smooth things out, but also keep this, well, look of unfinished stonework there. Unfinished meaning it's kind of rough still. This is not super polished. Bringing in the sunny yellow. And a bit of the orange too. For the puffy bits here, I'm going to bring in a bit of the dark gray. And for this particular bit here, also a little bit of the cadmium yellow. Now I'm going in with the dark gray here to color underneath the wooden logs, because there's going to be old ash and such. So I can go way grayer than maybe on other parts of this fireplace. But also I want to make sure that I have enough contrast between the guard bit here and the floor of the fireplace. So I'm gonna darken that guard up once more. Going with a very light hand underneath those logs here. Bringing in the sun yellow. And a bit of orange too. And then before I bring in the rest of the stone color, I can quickly finish up the fire. I had said earlier that I would work on that a bit more. I'm just gonna darken things up here. Bring in a little more of the red. Whoops! And of course also the cadmium yellow. And the orange. All right. Now I can take care of this part here. The immediate soot area is left now, so this part here would be where soot would settle. So I can bring a little more of the gray and a little less of the black. Which I'm gonna do here, of course. I'm also moving to the part of the fireplace where there's less reflection, because the immediate surroundings are the lightest, and the further you go away, the less reflection of the firelight will be there. But still there's some that is bouncing off. So I'm gonna bring in the orange and the warm yellow, the sunlight yellow, more of the black. And the dark gray. This part here has the littlest amount of reflection because it actually faces the room, but still there's some bouncing off from this section here. And also there's going to be something similar on the other side of the fireplace, so light will bounce there as well. But this section here is in the shadow when it comes to the window. So the darkest shadow will be here on the left. And I'm glancing at my clock. And I'm not having too much time anymore, so I'm just going to leave it with the fireplace. And once that is done, I'm going to end this video and have this section here be in the next video. I know this is a very long process, but I said it in this video and I said it in other videos. Colored pencil is a very slow medium, and it just takes its time to layer up. So now that I have the dark shadows in, I'm going in with a lighter touch with the black just to blend them out, bring in the dark gray. I'm gonna bring in a little bit of the dark brown on this section here too. And of course, sorry, I'm gonna extend it also on this part here. And have a little more of the sun yellow and the orange. The last two parts, first the column. There's a lot of reflection going on. Because again, the fireplace extends beyond the coloring page. But still, it's gonna be gray and brown and black on top here. Especially from the right-hand side, there's gonna be a bit, because the wall here, that part, well, reflects the non-firelight as well. So you have a bit of a gray and a dark here on that seam between the two sections of the fireplace. Adding the dark gray from the other side, because again this part is totally in the shadow from the window. There's no light hitting there other than the firelight, so I'm just going to give it a solid layer of the dark gray, bringing in the brown as well. sorry. A little more black here. Bringing in the dark gray from the left. Smoothing out the layers and then going on top with the sunny yellow. And the orange. Value check. I need to go a little darker here. And now I just have to color that little rectangle and the fireplace is done. Gonna use the dark gray. A little bit of the dark brown on top. And the black. Again, the shadow comes from the right, from the left. Sides are so difficult. Gonna come from the left because the column here and all of that is gonna shade this part. There's no reflection from the firelight here because it is absolutely away from the firelight. And there's not enough reflection here to bounce then back to that part of stone. So no reflection there. And that ends my video. It was the last little bit of the fireplace coloring. I hope you enjoyed watching along. I'm going to be back next week working some more on this coloring page. I hope you liked what you saw and got an idea on how to maybe color fireplaces and how to, well, have fire reflect, how to work with soot, all of that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. And the blog post is going to be up with all the pencils that I used today. The link to the webpage is in the description box below, and there I will have the numbers of all the pencils I used today for this particular section of the page. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the bell button so that you're notified whenever I release a new video. If you liked and appreciated this video, give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate that. And I'm going to see you on the next video. Take good care. I hope you got some time to color. I would love to see your coloring of this page if you happen to have the book and work in it. And I'm going to see you very soon. Thank you very much. Bye.